All right, so what we're going to talk about today is the emotions that caregivers experience. And we're going to compare these emotions to the ocean waves. So the first emotion I want to talk about is that of denial. When a diagnosis is given, often what we hear from caregivers, this cannot be happening to us. No, not me. It cannot be true. The mighty waves strike very hard. You feel like you're going to drown. There's nothing to hold on to. Another emotion is that of depression. The life I knew is gone. I can't remember the last time I felt good. There's no joy or happiness in our lives anymore. I just feel so sad. So along with the waves come the wreckage, the pieces of your life as you once knew it. It just floats by. All you can do is just float and watch the wreckage go by. Another emotion is that of anger. Why me? Why us? I'm angry at God. Oh, I'm angry at my wife. No, I'm just really angry at the world for letting this happen. Those relentless waves just keep coming. Along with anger comes this feeling. It's been getting harder and harder. I'm having trouble controlling my temper. Sometimes I get furious. Last night she made me so mad. She just doesn't understand what I am going through. Another emotion is that of conflict. My wife and I don't agree on anything. She's become so dependent on me, and we argue all of the time. So along with the conflict, the waves are 40 feet tall, and they just crash over you without mercy. Another emotion, feeling, is that of being isolated. I feel so all alone. I don't care about getting together with my friends anymore. Along with the isolation, the waves keep coming and don't even give you time to catch your breath. All you can do is just sort of hang on and try to float. Then there's that feeling of helplessness, hopelessness. I feel so helpless in trying to deal with our situation. I'm convinced that his disease will only get worse and he will never get better. Then there's that feeling of guilt. Guilt is a very common emotion among caregivers. I feel so guilty that I have not been a better caregiver. Dad needs me, but I just don't know how to help him. Oh, I let Paul fall. I should not have left him alone. I feel so guilty for doing that. It's my fault his disease is getting worse. Then there's that feeling of loss. Caregivers experience many, many losses in the process in their role of being a caregiver. I've lost everything, my dreams, my freedom, our golden years. I've lost me. I don't know who I am anymore. I've lost my husband as I knew him. He is no longer my husband. Instead, he is the man who I take care of. Loss can lead to grief. And grief can wipe you out, just like one of those really big waves. Another emotion is that of change. As caregivers, there's a lot of change going on. Everything is changing. Dad's not the same anymore. He was the head of the family and took care of all of us. Now we don't even know how to help him. She is the love of my life, but life is not the same anymore. It doesn't really feel like she's my wife. It feels much more like she's my patient. Another emotion is that of fear. I'm afraid of what will happen next. The waves just keep coming. Another emotion of that is being irritable. I keep trying to be nice to Mom, but I'm so irritable. I have no patience in dealing with her needs. I cry all of the time and just want my life back. Another emotion is that of frustration. My kids have forgotten we exist. They are never here to help or offer support. I work all day taking care of him, and then at night he asks, "Is there something wrong?" Another feeling is that of anxiety. I just feel so anxious. I worry about everything. What happens when he needs more care than I can provide? Soon caregivers reach a stage of feeling burnt out. I am just so exhausted. I cannot keep going. I just can't cope anymore. Well, we've talked a lot about negative emotions, negative feelings, but as John was talking about, some of the positive aspects. And the question I want to ask, is there anything positive about being a caregiver? You've all been to the ocean. You've seen those waves, but have you also seen the ocean calm, peaceful? So ocean waves can be peaceful and calming. And when it comes to the role of caregiver, one of the really important concepts is that of perception. How caregivers perceive their caregiving experience may influence their ability to focus on the positive aspects of caregiving. Here's a little cartoon. A guy is sitting on a bench, and he has a challenge, a stressor in his life. And he said, "I know I can't do this. I know I'm a failure." And then he starts thinking about it with a positive attitude, and he changes his perception and says, "I can do it, and I know I'm good at it." What was the difference? It all happened in his mind, in his thinking. So he was able to take this challenge and reframe it to come out positive. Here's a cartoon. One of my favorite artists is Charles Schulz, and I really can identify with Charlie Brown. He's sitting and he says, "Someday we'll all die, Snoopy. True, but on all the other days, we will not." Here's another cartoon with Ziggy. You can see what's happening in the basement. I wonder if this is one of those times an optimist would say it's half empty. Oh, we just lost that one. Did you see the basement flooding? All right, so what I want to do is take a look at some of the positive emotions that occur in the life of a caregiver. And one positive emotion is that of peace. I can live with a sense of peace that I have cared for the person who I loved. Another positive emotion is that of contentment. It's such a good feeling to know that I'm a constant in her life. She can depend on me, and she knows that I will be there for her. Another positive emotion is that of patience. I have learned to be patient. I live my life like it's the last day. Every day I live my life to the fullest. Another positive emotion is that of acceptance. I have learned that things change. I realize that life has taken a big fork in the road, but life still has purpose and meaning. Things are just different. This is my situation, and I'm going to make the most of it. Another thing that we need to think about is our loved ones also have feelings. Maybe those feelings that they're experiencing are very similar to the ones you're feeling. Have you ever discussed those feelings with your loved one? It was mentioned that we have a stress busting program, which I'll tell you a little bit about. But in our program, we have this picture. And this picture is something called the grief wheel. And at the bottom, I don't know where my pointer is. All right, you can see the yellow normal. When somebody experiences a loss, like caregivers have experienced many losses, they go through a cycle of feeling the loss, trying to adjust to the loss. And then they come out, and you see the orange salmon color there. It's a new normal. Can you ever get back to the yellow normal? And if you try to get back to the yellow normal, you're just going to cause a great deal of stress. Life will never be normal again. So the question is, how do I survive and ride those waves? Where's the shore? I can't get there. I need help. So how do you learn to survive and ride those waves? Well, one way to survive is to learn to swim and become an educated caregiver, and that's why you're here today. You want to become familiar with the resources in your community. You want to try to learn some strategies to deal with your stress. So in becoming an educated caregiver, we realize in chronic illness that the disease is going to progress. And as the disease progresses, you need different caregiving skills and capabilities. That's why it's so important to become educated. Another way to learn to survive and ride the waves is to get help. If you try to do everything yourself, you're going to be paddling the water and you're going to get exhausted. So in the process of getting help, if we find it hard to ask for help, maybe some other people can help. If you have difficulty asking for help, go find somebody that will help you look for some life preservers. And I know as caregivers you've heard this so often, well, you got to take care of yourself. And it really, really is true. Caregivers so frequently devote themselves totally to their loved one that they neglect themselves. They forget who they are. Another important thing to remember is that if the stress of caregiving becomes overwhelming, don't be afraid to get professional help. It's not a sign of weakness. Another thing that's really important is support. And hopefully today that you can reach out, find other caregivers, talk to other people who are going through similar things as you are. So family and friends can be a support. Sometimes family can be a support. But take a friend with you when you go ride those waves. A friend is an angel who lifts us off our feet when our wings have trouble remembering how to fly. I love this cartoon. Sometimes when you hurt inside, no medicine can fix it. Only a hug can. Only a hug can. So in the process of dealing with those negative emotions, those negative feelings, what do you do with them? Well, the fastest way to get over and through those negative emotions is, first of all, you want to identify them and say, yes, I feel anxious. Yes, I am afraid. Once you've identified those negative emotions, feel them, experience them. And then remember, emotions are in motion. So keep those emotions going and let those negative emotions change into something more positive. You heard John talk about positivity, happiness a lot, and you can change your perception. Another thing that so often happens is you get stuck in your negative emotions. It's kind of like those pigs wallowing in mud. You feel sorry for yourself. And then that leads to more negative emotions. And pretty soon you just can't get out of the mud. So another way to learn to ride the waves is be realistic. First of all, tell yourself, yes, I am doing a good job. Secondly, give yourself permission to feel sad, to grieve. Sometimes those waves are going to knock you down. And just remember, it's okay to cry. Also, in the process of being realistic, try to focus on the positive moments as they occur and enjoy those good moments. Remember the memories. Keep those scrapbooks, those photo albums with all the positive, pleasant things you can remember. And also keep telling yourself, the care I provide does make a difference. So I want to talk a little bit about stress management techniques. And in the stress busting program, we teach caregivers various stress management techniques. I like to think of it as building a toolkit. And one of the tools that we teach is relaxation breathing. And relaxation breathing is just so important when you're going through that really acute stress, that you can just take a moment and just practice that breathing so that you can really, really induce that relaxation response. Another really important stress management technique is humor. It's okay to laugh. Cartoons, funny movies, riddles, comic books, joke books. You know, we had a caregiver suggest to us of putting together a tickler notebook. And in that tickler notebook were funny pictures, funny cartoons, and she would sit down with her husband who had dementia, and they would go through that tickler notebook and just laugh. The most wasted of all days is the one without laughter. So another really important stress management technique is exercise. Not only does exercise improve your circulation, it makes you feel good. When you move, when you exercise, you get endorphins released from your brain. And endorphins have often been compared to like taking morphine, and they have a very similar chemical basis. So you can get your natural morphine high by just exercising. So another stress management technique is journaling. Write down your thoughts. Different ways to do this. Keep a little journal. Keep a little gratitude notebook. John mentioned the value of gratitude. I just want to tell you about a book I read called Option B. I don't know how many have you heard of that book? Sheryl Sandberg, who's the chief operating officer of Facebook, wrote it. She was in Mexico at a wedding, and her husband had gone to the gym to go exercise. He was 42 years old. He didn't come back to the room to get ready for the wedding, so she went to the little gym in the hotel room, and she found him dead. She had 2 young children, and she was trying to learn how to cope with everything. And then one day her son comes home and says, hey, the Cub Scouts are going on a camping trip. Who's going with me? All the fathers are going, and I don't have one. And one of her male friends she worked with approached them and said, I know you no longer have option A available in your life, but I am option B, and I'll take your son on the Cub Scout camping trip. Option B, the book, is very good, and I highly recommend it. But one of the things she talks in there is that every night before she goes to sleep, she thinks of 3 things that she's thankful for that day. Another stress management technique is art. Art can take lots of different forms: coloring, drawing, doodling. This particular picture right here is a self-portrait of a caregiver. What do you see in that picture? That's a little bit cloudy, but the actual photo. This is how this caregiver feels about herself. Any idea how she feels? She's got water. The water's coming up, and certainly there's that feeling of drowning. She's also got a noose around her neck. In the picture, you can't really see it too well on the screen, but there's actually multiple faces. We're not really supposed to interpret other people's art, which we're doing, but the purpose I'm trying to show you of this picture is that art can be used to express yourself. So I asked her to explain the picture to me, and she says there's a face she portrays to the world, and then there's the real her. And sometimes that real her is actually blending into the personality of the person she's taking care of. But coloring, drawing, doodling can be a very great form of stress management. I want to leave you with 2 quotes. John mentioned the word choice. Along with choice is a very important other C word called change. You may not be able to change the stressors in your life, but you can change your reaction or response to them. I cannot change the fact that your loved one, your husband, your father, your mother, has dementia or any other chronic illness. But you have a choice in changing your perception, your attitude about your role. And that leads to this next quote. A key to being an effective caregiver is you can't always choose your destiny in life, but you can choose how you cope with it. So when we look back at our lives as caregivers, the waves never stop coming, but you can learn that you'll survive them. And when the waves wash over you, you know that somehow, some way, you will come out on the other side, soaking wet, maybe breathing hard, but you'll come out and make it to the shore. Well, what we'd like to do now is introduce you to one stress management technique that we teach our caregivers, and that's imagery. How many of you have ever used imagery in your life? How many of you have daydreamed? Imagery is actually a form of daydreaming, and daydreaming can be very therapeutic, and it can help take you to a comfortable, relaxing place. So we're going to show you a brief introduction to imagery, and then we're going to practice a really short imagery technique.
Imagery is the use of your mind to create images that have a calming effect on your body. It incorporates all the senses to produce physiologic and emotional changes. It works on the idea that if an image is strong enough, the mind cannot tell the difference between the image and reality. For example, if you focus on the taste of a lemon, you will soon begin to salivate. In this CD, you will find 3 examples of guided imagery where you will be given suggestions to create images in your own mind to promote relaxation. There is also a guide to creating your own special place that is yours and yours alone.
So we're going to watch a very short video. And while you're watching this video, well, actually you have 2 choices. You can watch and listen, or you can just listen to the words. The name of this video is called Creating Your Own Special Place. What we want you to do is listen to the words and go to a place that has special meaning to you.
The following is an example of how to create your own special place. The place you create may be very different from the one shown here. First, begin by closing your eyes and taking several slow, deep breaths. Next, imagine a place where you feel completely comfortable and peaceful. It may be a real place or one you imagine, one from your past, or someplace you have always wanted to go. Allow this special place to take form slowly. And as it takes form, look around to your left, to your right. Enjoy the scenery, the colors, the textures, the fragrances, the shapes. Listen carefully to the sounds of your place. What do you hear? Is there a gentle breeze or sunshine warming your face? Pick up or touch some favorite objects from your special place. Take in a deep breath through your nose and notice the rich smells around you. Perhaps your favorite flower is in bloom, or you smell the salt air of an ocean breeze. Take another deep breath and relax. Enjoy the peace, comfort, and safety of your special place. This is your special place. You relax and feel thankful that you are here. You can return to this place anytime that you wish.
Does anyone want to share where they went? California. You went to Hawaii. Are you all feeling calmer? More relaxed? I also want to point out to you that this little video you saw is less than 2 minutes. See how quickly you can use your mind to transport yourself to a comfortable place? So that's just a little bit on how imagery can be used. And you can use imagery in your life. You don't need anything, no equipment, just your mind. So that was just a really brief introduction. At the table over here, Gloria is waving. She has additional information on the stress busting program. I'll just give you a little bit of history on the stress busting program. The program really took off, got launched, disseminated, distributed with its base here in San Antonio. It's a 9-week program, meets for 90 minutes a week. Caregivers learn about stress, relaxation, losses, coping with challenges, positive thinking, many different topics. Caregivers receive a free caregiver handbook. Gloria has a copy of one that has for dementia. The program is now in 16 states. And about 3 weeks ago, I got to give a presentation in Iceland. It was the first international presentation about our stress busting program, and 16 countries were represented there. So I want to thank WellMed for all that they have done and are doing to disseminate our program. And this past week, somebody asked me, why do we do this? And I said, because we care. And if any of you are interested in participating, Gloria has all the information. So any questions, comments about positive thinking, riding the waves? I'd like to challenge you today to think of one thing that you can do for yourself. One thing, just one. What is that one thing that you can do today to start thinking more positively, to think more about happiness? Just one thing. If you want, you can write it down. You can just think about it in your mind, but just that one thing that you can possibly do today. Take on the challenge and think about what are your option Bs. Thank you.